be seated, everyone. Shabbat Shalom and welcome, everyone. Chag Shavuot Sameach. May it be a happy holiday of Shavuot. Today, more than 3,000 years ago, our ancestors stood beneath Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. In our tradition, the rabbis are comparing it to a marriage between the people in Israel and God. This is an everlasting covenant, and today you, our confirmants, are here accepting from your own free will your commitment, your obligation to the people of Israel, to Jewish continuity. This is a true holiday for all of us. יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אמותינו ואבותינו, שתוליכנו לשלום ותצעדנו לשלום. May it be your will, Adonai our God and the God of our ancestors, that you guide our confirmants and all of us here in the paths of shalom, of peace and well-being. Let there be for them and for us abundant peace, long life, and good health. Bless all the works of our hands, and grant us all grace, loving kindness, and compassion in your eyes and in the eyes of everyone who sees us. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who blesses our people Israel. Amen.
Amen. As we kindle these festival lights, may we rekindle in our hearts the light of Torah, the light of truth. May these shining candles remind us that the flame of God, which burns within us all, may be warmed by its presence, just as these flames bring light and life and warmth to our celebration tonight. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel yom tov.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu
We celebrate this day in holiness and in joy. We lift this cup as a symbol of the sweetness of this day, made holy by our commitment to bring happiness and joy to all the world. May the Torah ever be sweet within our mouths, and may it lead us to a world of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Amen.
We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to live lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves.
Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. In the brightness of this Confirmation Eve, as we celebrate our receiving of the light of the Torah, may God's presence settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer.
All right. Hi, guys. How we doing? Good? Okay. So, I wanted to start off by saying thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. Our service is all about, being, a family, a community, Jewish or not. So, just thank you guys. It means the world to all of us up here, even our rabbis up here, even our piano player and our cantor right here. So, and my speech is about, how my Jewish identity is and how, the community just kind of embodies all of that. So, we were told to write about our Jewish identities in any way, shape, or form, and what it meant for us. And honestly, for me, that is really hard to explain. I'm always, changing how I think, how I feel. I'm 16, so it happens. So, it's kind of hard to explain right now, but, looking at all of you, looking at my confirmants up here, looking at both my rabbis and everything, I think I can come to grips with it just a little bit more, even if it's just that much. So, to my friends, my family, you all know that I'm extremely open about being, Jewish, how happy I am, how proud I am. I wear a Star of David necklace that my grandmother Bobo got for me Hanukkah 2 years ago. And I still wear that day in, day out, go to sleep anytime. And, I think just wearing that, it's a symbol of not only just, hey, I'm Jewish, it's a symbol of pride that I have for the community, that not only us, but everywhere, all across America, all across the world, that we have built together. So I'm really thankful, to be able to carry on the legacy of, Jewish culture, Jewish nature, Jewish anything, just every single day, whether it's on my chest or whether it's just through actions or anything like that. Maybe that is, my Jewish identity right now, but honestly, I'm perfectly okay with that. Even if it changes tomorrow just a bit, even if it changes next year completely, I'm definitely okay with anything. And, all of this could not have been done with the perfect two rabbis, Rabbi David, Rabbi Rapport. Rabbi Rapport has actually done a lot for my family in specific. So started off by marrying my two parents together in this very sanctuary right there, actually, that very spot. He then bar mitzvahed me when I first moved down here. And then he confirmed my brother. And now, as his last service, he's confirming me. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done for us. My family, everybody else's family up here, thank you so much. And I feel like it's a perfect way to end it, getting confirmed with him and everything like that. So I want to end it off by saying thank you to my friends who are here, live streamed or not, if they couldn't make it or not, I just want to tell them thank you for everything. It means the world to me. Shut up, Tabby. It means the world to me that, I'm able to have such close friends where I can invite them to such a special moment like this. And Kobe, don't call me. I want to also say thank you to everybody else, supporting your family members, supporting your friends, whatever it means. To my friends, I love you guys. To my family, thank you so much for everything y'all done. I love y'all for pushing me to even come here and do this every Sunday in and out. And no matter how many times I push back on you guys, I'm just so thankful y'all kept pushing me to go. And yeah, thank you guys. Take that.
Okay, so most of my Sundays during the school year are spent here. Whether it is helping out in the mornings or attending class in the afternoon, this is the place that I associate with my Jewish identity. And recently, I realized that it was not about the place, but it was instead about the people. It is the community here that makes me feel at home. I have been going to services here since I was very, very young. And I spent my Friday nights here as the rabbis led Shabbat services, and I just remember like singing and really, really enjoying it. But as I got older, it became more difficult to come to services. And without these services, there was a time when I grew distant from my Jewish identity and what it meant to me. Then I spent my first summer at camp, which is Gucci. This is where my passion for Shabbat services resurfaced. Those that have been to camp services can say that it's magical. You're sitting on these wooden benches, surrounded by nature. But it is not only the place that is magical. Again, it's the community. Yes, never in my life have I seen people my age sing along to prayers in the way that I used to when I was younger. And the different voices of all the campers joined together to chant the Amidah left me in awe. I felt at home surrounded by the community at Gucci. And even though each of us are completely different people, there is this invisible string that ties this community together. So in order to be part of such amazing communities, I had to figure out who I was as a person, what my beliefs were, and how they impacted my decisions. This was important to me because I was not able to give back to any community that I was a part of if I did not know myself. Through many exercises at camp and BBYO events, I discovered the role that my Jewish identity plays in my life. I believe that we must share what we learn with others. As I became more involved with BBYO, I was presented with the opportunity to run for board. I saw this as a vital part of my Jewish identity because as a board member, you are responsible for the community and that your chapter creates. And as Jay Levine's current signee, one of my many goals is to create a community where everyone gets to experience the magic that I was able to experience as a child, where everyone is able to call BBYO their home away from home, like I call places like Gucci and BBYO conventions my home away from home. Apart from sharing what we learn with others, I learned that it is important to forge connections between your mind, body, and soul. I first encountered this belief in a farm in Maryland. This is very random, but as part of BBYO's international convention, I was granted the opportunity to visit Pearlstone Center, which is kind of a Jewish farm in Baltimore. As I helped around the farm, I looked around and I saw a growing community. Each person there was so passionate and working hard towards their common goal of Tikkun Olam, which is mending the world. We worked together for a few hours, and I realized that it was the mindset that drove us to succeed in our task. This sprouted a branch of what I value as a part of my Jewish identity. This branch that sprouted was the mentality needed to make a community thrive, the perseverance needed to overcome obstacles, the courage that is shown during the darkest moments, and even the smile that can brighten someone's day. Coming to peace with oneself and the fact that we all have the ability to change the world is something I really value. We each have the power to walk down whatever path we want at any point in our lives. As we all have led the service together as one united, as we all will lead the service together, because I thought the speeches were going to be at the end, so. As one united community, we will also have learned from each other. I know I will always be a part of this magical Jewish community, and I hope that going forwards, I am able to give back to it.
Please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaBarach. Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Praise be the one to whom praise is due. Praise be the one to whom praise is due, now and forever.
Baruch
Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, ubitbuna mishanei itim, umitzalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem kirzono, b'rei yom v'layla, guleel or mipnei choshek, b'choshek mipnei or, uma'avir yom mevi layla, umavdil bein yom mevi layla, Adonai tzavaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, Tamid ya'aliv aleinu l'olam ba'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv aravim. I am a Jew because, born of Israel and having lost her, I have felt her live again in me, more living than myself.
I'm a Jew because, born of Israel and having regained her, I wish her to live after me, more living than in myself.
I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands of me no abdication of the mind.
I'm a Jew because the faith of Israel requires of me all the devotion of my heart.
I am a Jew because in every place where suffering weeps, the Jew weeps.
I'm a Jew because at every time when despair cries out, the Jew hopes.
I am a Jew because the word of Israel is the oldest and the newest.
I'm a Jew because the promise of Israel is the universal promise.
I am a Jew because, for Israel, the world is not completed. We are completing it.
I'm a Jew because, above the nations in Israel, Israel places humanity in its unity.
I am a Jew because above humanity, image of the divine unity, Israel places the unity, which is divine. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Ba'ed. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever.
Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך, בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם, ושבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וכתבתם על ידך, לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Why is it that we are gathered here today? Why have we taken time out of our day to come together as a community? Now, we have gathered here for a ceremony of confirmation, but what exactly does confirmation mean? According to the internet, confirmation is an individual and group affirmation of commitment to the Jewish people. That is why we are gathered here today. We are here to confirm our faith and confirm our membership and participation in the Jewish community. Humans are, by their nature, social creatures. We spend up to 80% of our day communicating with others, whether by talking or body language. The only reason we survived as a species was because we banded together. Look to the Torah. Most of Exodus talked about the importance of the community. The reason that Moses and the people of Israel managed to cross the desert was because they stuck together. Look in front of you at the service that you now hold. A veritable army of people was needed to get that service to you, from the lumber in the paper to the chemicals in the ink to the content of the service itself. Hundreds, maybe thousands of people were involved in the production of that single service that you hold. We cannot work alone, and religion is no exception. The community is one of the most important parts of Judaism. Our religion is built around community. Think with me for a minute and think of a Jewish tradition, service, or holiday that is meant to be done alone. It's difficult, right? Community is an integral part of being Jewish. Whether that community is our congregation, our family, or something else, we spend most of our time with the community, and Judaism is no exception. We gather as a community on every holiday and every important event to perform a service together or celebrate together. When we don't come to the temple, we spend time with our families. For example, every single Friday evening, my family gets together and performs a small Shabbat service, and then we eat together. We spend holidays with our extended family, and we come to the temple to pray with the congregation. By leading this service, we, the confirmands, are signaling that we are ready to take a more active and more responsible role in the Jewish community. Whether that be in the congregation, in the city, in the family, or somewhere else, we are signaling that we are ready to take on a larger role. We are signaling that we are ready to either volunteer or lead services or something else. We are signaling that we are ready to bear the burden that being an active member of the community entails. To me, that is what confirmation is about. Confirming our participation, membership, and most importantly, leadership in our community. Thank you.
Judaism through music. As we go about our day as Jewish individuals, there's something in our way of thinking or in our actions that makes us unique in our own personal Jewish identities. As I reflect on the ways I feel connected to Judaism, music is what keeps me tethered to my religion. Listening to the choir during services, studying how a composer changes from major to minor, and mostly making music with my family are all ways that music makes me feel connected to being Jewish. Music brings people together, making them a community. At services, when everyone is singing and humming, I feel most connected to Judaism, as singing in a congregation is a communal thing. When I was in Sunday school as a kid, my favorite part was singing in services. The clapping of hands and the mixed tone of voices from all around, I had thought was the greatest thing that could happen. Those services are what started the emotional connection I have towards Judaism today. I'm growing as an individual, and my Jewish identity grows with me. Getting confirmed isn't what makes me Jewish. What makes me Jewish is the love I have for music and the love I have for making music with my family. Thank you.
We believe in tomorrow.
We believe as Jews dedicated to the service to our temple and to our faith, that we have the power to make tomorrow different than today.
We believe that ignorance, poverty, and lack of sensitivity to the feelings, needs, or beliefs of others need not to be permanent.
We believe in people despite all that we know about them.
We believe that there can yet be a time of peace, a time of sisterhood and brotherhood, and a time of tranquility for ourselves, for our children, and for everyone who lives on this earth.
We believe that we can have a share in bringing that day closer by the way in which we live throughout the year.
The world may smile at our dreams, but no matter, we still believe. Please rise. Please rise.
Ananana Ananas fatai tifta. Ananana ufi agi di la terra. Ananana Adonai. Ananana fatai tifta. Ananana ufi agi di la terra.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachael, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zoher Hashtei Avot Mahot, U'mevi Geulah Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol Atarach Le'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Zomech Noflim Verofei Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umechaye Memunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Geburot, Umito Melech, Melech Meimit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'nemanata Chayot Hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye Hakol, Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom V'Halocha Stella, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated.
Hello, everyone. If you don't already know me, I'm Ben. As we just chanted the Amidah, some of you may have chanted it a little bit differently than we did on the Bima. This happens to me as well. Whenever I go to another congregation, or even sometimes here for services, I find myself chanting the Amidah, among other prayers, slightly differently. Why is that? To answer the question, we'd have to go back to where I first learned to chant the Amidah. And actually, I would argue I never did learn it. Every summer, I go to a summer camp for Reform Judaism. Most of you are probably familiar with Gucci. There, we have services every night and chant the Amidah every night as well. I started going years ago before I could chant at all. However, I still wanted to keep up with what was going on at services. So I copied what everyone else around me was doing and learned how to chant the Amidah, read the Mornis Kaddish, and say Birkat after a meal, among other prayers. In this way, again, I actually never learned to chant the Amidah at all, but more accurately, I soaked it up and replicated what my community was doing. So to answer the question of why I chant the Amidah differently than the people around me now, it's because I learned it in a community and didn't even really learn it at all. This is, in a slightly metaphorical way, what Judaism means to my life. While Judaism does offer tradition, law, and a concrete way to learn, I find joy more from the way those customs bring us together than the actual customs themselves. My Judaism is something extrapolated from the community of Jewish people around me, not learned or studied. It allows me to, encourages me to, and even forces me to connect with the people around me, and because of that, offers me not only a set of laws to live by, or a list of holidays and traditions to celebrate, or in this case, symbols to learn how to chant a specific prayer, but more importantly, it offers me an incredible community to grow, enjoy life with, and maybe even learn with a little too. Just this last year at camp, we did an exercise about our belief in God. I was shocked when doing this exercise. I found out that maybe a majority, probably about 50%, either didn't believe in God or weren't sure. We grow up as Jews believing and being taught that belief in God is the core idea in Judaism, but clearly plenty of Jewish people don't. But they still go to services, still say Motzi before they eat or Shema before they go to bed, and still welcome in Shabbat with songs praising the oneness of God, and we all still have the best time of our lives in this 1 month at camp. I couldn't understand why the community that we had functioned so well if the one uniting factor of a belief in God that distinguishes our 1 month at camp from any other random month in a year wasn't really a commonality between us at all. This has led to one of my core beliefs in Judaism, a belief in God as a catalyst. Different Jews have different opinions or feelings about God, and that never seems to matter when we're praying, singing, dancing, etc. What matters is how we were brought together in the first place. How was camp brought together? How is this confirmation class brought together? How has this congregation been brought together? While each individual person likely has varying belief in God, we never would have been brought together here without our ancestors or our belief in God in the first place. So whether or not anyone else does, I will always believe in God, even if only because I know that's what brought me to the people and communities I value most, the people that accidentally taught me how to chant the Amidah. Before I finish, I'd like to thank all of the teachers, rabbis, family, my parents, and people who have guided my and our Jewish education so far, but specifically Rabbi Rapport, who has taught our confirmation class so far, well, the whole time. Throughout the confirmation process, when asked a question, Rabbi's go-to response has been, "It's your confirmation, you decide." Now, he doesn't say this out of lack of knowledge, as I'm completely positive he could make this entire confirmation by himself in about an hour, probably. He says this because he wants us to have a confirmation meaningful to us. This phrase exemplifies his incredible selflessness as a rabbi, a teacher, and a mentor, and we as a class are incredibly grateful for the time, immense knowledge, and experience you, Rabbi, have given to us. We can't thank you enough.
The burden of Torah. I am a Jew because I love and want to carry the burden of Torah. The word burden and the word Torah and wanting to carry that burden, they don't sound like they go together. But there's 613 mitzvot, and there's infinite ways we can live this life. But these 613 allow us to live a righteous life, a life full of emunah, full of baracha, it would be baracha, yes. I love and want to carry all of the burden, all 613. We need to uphold and honor Hashem. All of the 613 are beautiful and binding, beautiful from Bereshit to Kol Yisrael. All words of Torah are beautiful. Ani Yechud because I love not just Torah, but the Shulchan Aruch, the customs, the history. I am a Jew because I have blessings and family back there. You can wave or something. 3 brothers right here, and one flying in on Tuesday. I am a Jew because I need emunah to make it through life. I am a Jew because there are many blessings behind me with 2 rabbis who welcomed me into the shul and into Kol Yisrael with my father. I am a Jew because the process of Giyur is described as difficult, but I simply disagree with that. I am a Jew because I don't put my emunah in Adam. I put my emunah in Hashem. That's all she wrote.
All you wrote, thank you.
Please turn to page 4.
Shalom ra al Yisrael amcha, tasi le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adom, lechol hashalom. B'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael. B'chol eit uvchol sha'a bishlomecha. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not take up sword against nation. They shall never again know war. Don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating and make musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make more war again will have to turn them into plowshares first.
The question of what does Judaism mean to any Jew is difficult. I, like many of you, don't follow every single rule of the Torah, such as keeping Shabbos or eating kosher. I also don't use the Torah as my ethical base to make decisions. I primarily use my Jewish identity to give me a home in a close-knit Jewish community. Despite moving temples, states, and branches of Judaism, I still feel part of a global Jewish community. I was born in Vermont, part of a conservative synagogue called Temple Ahavi Zedek, and was a member for the first 8 years of my life. I became as good friends with my classmate as a second grader could be, when only seeing others for 2 hours a week. I don't remember any of my classmates' names there, but I remember every single part of what we learned, and I also learned what half of them looked like, so I don't know. I can also remember how high holiday services went, such as Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, the building layout, but I can't remember one person's name. When I was in second grade, in the summer of second grade, my family and I moved from Vermont to Massachusetts. We joined a Reform synagogue called Temple Isaiah, and my class had around 25 members, and quickly I started making friends there. In fact, I made friends there faster than I made my friends at school. At Temple Isaiah, I had my bar mitzvah and learned every major prayer in the prayer book sung 4 different ways, because that's just how we did it. I also learned the stories of the Tanakh that helped me identify as a Jew even more. Most importantly, for my Jewish identity, I decided to go to camp. First at camp, it was a sleepaway camp, and I went for 4 weeks. First at camp, I hated it for the first 5-ish days. I didn't know anyone there, or I knew a few people there, but the people I knew there, I didn't know a ton. I knew them at Hebrew school a little. But closely after that, I started to love camp. And I've gone back every year since, except for COVID. My parents picked me up after these 4 weeks, and when my mom was crying, when she finally saw me after 4 weeks, because I haven't left her for a week before that, I said, I'm going for 7 weeks next time. Not my finest moment. I've gone to camp 5 summers after that, not including the summer of COVID, which I sadly stayed at home. But in that summer, I moved to Kentucky. I made tons of friends here, each that feel different than anyone I met at camp. Last summer, I did go to camp again, and we drove 12 hours back to Massachusetts to drive me home. Looking forward, and like many others on this beam, I'm going to Israel this summer, which also helped me feel closer to this communal identity of Jews globally. Going back to the temple here. I started going to the temple last year and spent my first year only seeing faces on screens. This year has been a mess of online, screens, mask. Now here, some unmasked, some masked. Despite these complications, I still feel part of the temple community just like I do as part of the global community. I hope all you do too. Thank you.
I was told to write a speech about the Jewish community and how I fit into ours. I struggled to find a way to write this without talking about BBYO or the Hebrew school here at the temple, but I realized those two are the things that make me part of this community. I never really found my place here until last year when I opened my eyes to BBYO. This organization led me to learn so many things, including leadership, which is by far one of the most important parts in order to grow in this community. At my first event, I met so many people that I now look up to for so much advice. This was such an amazing experience for me to see Jewish girls like me come together for something so cool. Soon after, I learned how our board works, and I'm currently our chapter Nasiya, which means president, and it's a huge honor. With this big responsibility comes a challenge that you have to encounter with many groups of teens and be in charge of them. This is more than enough to lose your values sometimes. I grew up at the temple from preschool to now teaching Hebrew at the religious school with some of my best friends. Everything I've learned about being Jewish came from this place and from my family. Even though early Sunday mornings were never my favorite, I loved coming here and showing the kids everything I eventually learned about being Jewish. When I started BBYO, I thought I lost sight of being Jewish, but technically that wasn't true. I thought if I wasn't here at the temple teaching or coming to services, I wasn't being Jewish enough, but I realized pretty quickly that I was more than wrong. BBYO showed me another outlet for my Judaism, and it gave me a whole new perspective of community and people who showed me that being Jewish doesn't have to be represented by sitting through long, boring services or coming in on holidays. In the end, it's about who you surround yourself with, and that's why I joined BBYO. Not only did it make me more confident, but it made me feel like I was important and had a place in our Jewish community in a different way. I wanted to do something good and inspire the 6th graders and 7th graders that I work with on Sundays and Wednesdays. Being Jewish is not only participating in our Holocaust classes with Rapport and learning your prayers. It's way more than that. It's the friendships you build and the bonds you make.
Thank you.
I mean, at times of joy, we remember those who are in need of healing. In the middle of page 4, you'll find the words to Misha Berach. As we join together singing them with Jennifer, let us think of all those in our families, in our community, in our congregation, in the world in need of healing.
Those in need.
continue now with the blessings of our confirmands. continue now in the middle of page 4 with a service for the reading of the Torah. Please rise.
It's Chaim.
Please be seated. The traditional Torah reading for Shavuot is the Ten Commandments. Wow, is that loud. Benji, can you hear that? The voice of God. We're about to read the Ten Commandments. I mean, that's only appropriate. Before the commandments can be read, we need someone to bless them.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Exodus chapter 20, beginning with verse 1, Ten Commandments.
Vayadber Elohim et kol hadvirim Elohech ha'eleh lamor. Anochi Adonai Elohecha asher hotzeiticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibet avadim.
Lo yihyeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai. Lo ta'aseh lecha fesel bechol temunah asher bashamayim mima'al ba'asher ba'aretz mitachat ba'asher b'mayim mitachat la'aretz lo tishtachaveh.
Ki Anochi Adonai Elohecha El Kana Poked Avot Al Banim Al Shelashim Va'al Reveim Lesonai Ve'oseh Chesed Lelofim Lahovai Ul Shomrei Mitzvotai Lo Tisha Et Shem Adonai Elohecha Leshav Kol Lo Yanakev Adonai Asher Yisa Et Asher Leshonat Leshav.
For et Yom HaShabbat, the code show. Sheshet Yamim Ta'avod, Vasita Kol Malachtecha, Yom HaShvi'i Shabbat, Ladonai Elohecha.
Lo haseh kol melacha ata uvincha uvitecha. Avdecha amatka avemtecha. V'gercha asher vishiarecha.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, את הים ואת כל אשר בם, וינח ביום השביעי על כן ברך אדוני את יום השביעי ויקדשהו.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayim olam natan b'Eloheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'zot haTorah she'asa Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael. V'zot asher sa Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael. Al pi Adonai biyad Moshe, biyad Moshe. Al pi Adonai biyad Moshe, biyad Moshe. V'zot haTorah asher sa Moshe livnei
Please be seated. So I've been telling you guys stories for a long time. A long time being measured in a few years, a long time being measured for some of you since like kindergarten, when you entered religious school, a long time being for some of you since like preschool. So you know all my stories, or maybe not. I don't know if you know this one. If you do, maybe you haven't been thinking about it the way I'm telling it tonight. This story is called the story of Jacob and the treasure of Lublin. It's a story about a young man who's heading out on a journey, and the journey that helps him sort of realize his dreams. So it happened again that night. Rachael was awakened by Jacob rolling in circles in his bed. She shook him and woke him up and said, you're dreaming, wake up. And he said, again? And she said, was it the same dream? And he said, it was the same dream about the treasure. 3 nights it had been, that he dreamed about this beautiful treasure in a huge chest that was filled with gold and silver coins and gems that sparkled as he opened the chest. And at first, he'd only seen the chest itself. And then he saw the cave in which the chest was there. But this time he said, Rachael, I know where the treasure is. And she said, really? In your dreams? And he said, no, in my dreams, I saw where the treasure is. It's in Lublin. And she said, well, it might as well be on the other side of the world, because Lublin is like a very far off place, and it's a huge city, and we live in this tiny place, and you have a tiny little tailor shop, and how are you ever going to find your way to Lublin because you saw in your dreams there was a treasure there? He said, I don't know, but I have to go. This was his dream. So when morning came, she packed him a little bit of food, because it's a long walk to Lublin, and he kissed his boys on their heads, and he gave her a great hug, and she smiled in that knowing way that she was sending him off to do she didn't know what, and off he went. He traveled for a long time on foot. In these days in the old country, traveling as a Jew required passage and papers, none of which he had. It was dangerous stuff. He traveled mostly at night so he wouldn't be seen, but after 3 days walking as fast as he could, because he knew just where he was going, at least in his dreams, though he'd never been there himself, he found himself at the foot of a bridge that looked just like the bridge he'd seen in his dreams. And the bridge stretched off to this beautiful city of Lublin, which looked just like the Lublin that was in his dreams. And beneath the bridge, from the far side of the bridge, he could see that there were caves in the mountain that it went off to, just like he'd seen in his dreams. So he was going to find the treasure. This was going to happen. It happened in his dreams, and it's going to actually happen in his hands, except there was this huge man in a military uniform with a large gun in his hand, standing at the front of the gate that led to the bridge, that led to Lublin, that led to the treasure. He had a problem. He didn't have any of the papers that he needed to be able to travel the distance that he traveled. He was sure that from his accent, this guard was going to recognize that he was a Jew, and Jews were not allowed to be anywhere without sufficient papers and promises and all kinds of things he didn't have. And if they asked him, who are you going to see in Lublin? He didn't know anyone in Lublin, so what was he going to do? He's thinking all this as he's walking forward, because he knows he has to do this, because he did this in his dream. When he gets to this huge, imposing guard, the man says, "Who are you, and where are you going?" And he said, "My name's Jacob. I'm a tailor. I'm from this little town, and he's thinking, what do I say? If I tell him the truth, he'll think I'm crazy. If I try to make up something, he'll think I'm lying. He'll know I'm lying. So he says, "I'm Jacob the tailor from this little town, and I had a dream, you see, that there's a treasure on the far side of the bridge, and I have to go get it." And the old man laughed and said, "Wait a minute, you're some tailor from some tiny town I've never heard of, okay? And you think that you had a dream, and that there's a treasure on the far side of this bridge, and that's what brought you here?" And he laughed, and Jacob said, "Yes." And he said, dreams are just dreams. If I followed my dreams, I would have been traveling from days ago, because I've been having the same dream. I'd be traveling to this little town, I don't even know where it is, to the home of this little tailor, I don't know who he is, and I would move the stove in his kitchen, I don't know why, and I'd find a treasure there. But who's crazy enough to do that? Jacob says, "So what was the name of this tailor? And what was the name of the town he lived in?" Of course, it was his name and his town. So he said, "I don't think I need to go any further, thank you very much." And he turned around and he headed back. 3 days' journey in the nights, moving even faster, till he reached his home. And when he got there, guess what he found? His wife, his children, and buried beneath their stove, a treasure of sparkling stones and silver coins and gold coins. They'd been waiting for him all along. Now you think that this is a story about finding treasure, and it is, but it's not. Because the treasure had always been there, right there in his home, surrounded by his family, waiting for him to return. This is a story about you. It may not sound like a story about you. It may sound like a story about Jacob and Rachael and their 2 children and the man at the gate, and it's about you. Because you're heading out on a journey now, and you have dreams, and you'll find yourself in the search for those dreams. But don't ever forget that the treasure that you're looking for is already here and always will be, waiting for you. This is where, usually, I would bless you as a confirmation class. And, yeah, Ben? This is where you're supposed to interrupt me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, in all his years of existence,
he makes me sound so old.
Yeah. Rabbi Rapport here, along with us, has never been confirmed before, obviously.
I was the only student my age in my congregation that year, so I didn't get confirmed.
So, along with us in his last confirmation service, since he's done it so often, we feel like he's finally earned that right. So, he's going to be confirmed along with all of us tonight. So,
huddle. Come on.
Come forward.
Thank you. So for all of us together, we're going to share this blessing. No, we're not. He wants to go by height because, you know. Okay. So there's a blessing that's handed down from generation to generation for children who are becoming adults. It was offered first in the book of Numbers by the priests to the community of Israel, and we offer it to ourselves as we bless ourselves as the confirmation class of 2022, the 165th confirmation class of our congregation, to which all of us belong. Yivorechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yikunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha. Vayasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you. And be gracious unto you. May God's face be lifted unto you. And grant you peace. Amen. Mazel tov, your compliment. You too. And me too. Yes. At this point, Michael Solomon, our president, who has really worked hard to get here after the graduation of his son, Jack, has words of congratulations for our confirmation class.
Well, good evening. First of all, congratulations to our newest confirmation class, which I thought was 8, but apparently it's 9. So, congratulations. It is a great honor for me to have the opportunity to address you as this temple's president. Of all the responsibilities of temple president, this is one of the things I look forward to most. In fact, my son's graduation party is at my house right now, and I was not going to miss this, so I snuck out for a little while, and I'm really glad I was able to do that. So I'm sorry I wasn't here the whole evening, but it's great to be here. While our temple has an outstanding tradition and has been present for well over 100 years, I have no doubt that our future is what really matters the most. And of course, you are our future. I commend all of you for completing your Jewish education. It is not necessarily a given these days that all Jewish children will complete that which you have accomplished. Priorities change. COVID was a nuisance, to say the least. Competing activities interfere. But all of you stuck with it and became confirmands. Congratulations. While not all of you will necessarily return to the Louisville area permanently after college, you will settle somewhere, and it is important that you seek out and participate in the Jewish community wherever you land. In addition, it is not just good enough to join and participate, but you must lead. Our people are depending on it. I grew up in a relatively small Jewish community in Stockton, California. I was somewhat involved in Jewish life there, but likely my most notable accomplishment was my poor behavior in religious school. I think most there would be shocked to find out that I became temple president of Kentucky's largest congregation. The point is, keep an open mind, as you never know what the future will bring, and there will be many opportunities for you to serve. Make sure you don't let those opportunities pass you by. Congratulations again.
And now I'd like to invite Sarah Harlan to come forward to offer greetings on behalf of Women of Reformed Judaism Sisterhood and as our high school Jewish Studies director.
Turn around here. So, I want to wish a hearty Mazal Tov to our, I said 8 originally, to our 9 confirmation students and their families. You all are an extraordinary class that has exemplified resilience, flexibility, camaraderie, and dedication to your Jewish education and your temple community. You all consistently showed up and actively participated, even with your first year being completely on Zoom. You've asked the challenging questions, supported each other, and even asked for more time on Sundays so you could learn from and with our amazing Rabbi Rapport. You are his last official confirmation class, and we couldn't be prouder that you all have earned that distinction. So to Ari, Violeta, David, Ben Norton, Elijah, Nicole, Jed, and Ben Teitel, and Rabbi Rapport. Mazal Tov again, you've really done us proud. And now if you all could imagine that I'm putting a different hat on my head that says WRJ on it, on behalf of my co-president, Karen Waldman, and the Temple WRJ Sisterhood, I would like to present you with a meaningful book that we hope you'll find useful as you continue on your Jewish life paths. It's called On the Doorposts of Your House. It's a comprehensive guide to how you will live and practice Judaism throughout your life. And this and something that Michael Friedman's going to talk about and some other goodies will be are on the backstage that you all can pick up afterwards. So, Mazal Tov.
Speaking of Michael Friedman, Friedman is now speaking.
Lador Vador, that means from generation to generation. And if you go out in this hallway, you'll see the generations of confirmation classes. 164 have preceded this class. That's what we call a tradition. Now, the Temple Brotherhood has other traditions. This morning, we celebrated the beginning of the book of Numbers, and we had the no rehearsal choir perform. And following that, we had an Oneg Shabbat with homemade matzah, homemade gravlax, and bourbon. So all of you are invited to participate in that, except for the bourbon, of course. The other traditions that the Brotherhood has is trap shooting for Father's Day. You can bring your fathers to that, and your mothers. And we also have a tradition of giving study Torahs to every bar bat mitzvah. We give the Stanley Frager Scholarship Award to children who graduate from high school, and we give the Mensch Award to Jed for being kind and nice, or kind and good, rather. And that doesn't mean the others are not kind and good, but Jed received that award. The other thing that we do as a tradition is the confirmation cups, and those are in the back with your names on it. So I encourage you to start your own tradition and use these cups for Passover and other joyous occasions. So on behalf of the Temple Brotherhood, Mazel Tov to all of you and to your parents.
Thanks to Michael and Sarah, and Karen, and the Sisterhood, the Brotherhood, and our president, Michael Solomon, for congratulating these young people and for showing them as an example what it means to be a leader in our community. We continue now at the bottom of page 4 with our concluding service. Please rise. Please read with me together at the bottom of page 4. Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto you, who spreads out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else.
God,
Continue now with the reading before the Kaddish on page 5.
There are stars up above. So far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember.
Please join us in these words of Kaddish.
Yidgadal v'kadash me'rabah, v'alma divrahirte yomik mahute, v'chayachon v'yamachon, v'chayet kol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabah v'rach, v'lam v'elmai, yitbarach v'yishtarach v'yitpahar v'yitoram v'naseh, v'yitadar v'yithaleh v'yithalol, shmei v'kusha b'richu, Le'lami kol birchata v'shirata, tushvachata v'nechamata, damiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shalom, v'chayim aleinu v'el kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'rumah, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'el kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
May the source of peace send peace to all who are moved, and comfort all who are bereaved. And let us say together, Amen. Amen. Please be seated. We have one more joy to share, Havdalah. I can ask the confirmation class to join.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei agafen borei
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei minei b'samim. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of varied spices.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei b'samim borei minei b'samim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei morei ha'esh. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the lights of fire.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, ben or lechoshech, ben Yisrael la'amim, ben yom hashvi'i, l'sheshet yemei hama'aseh. Baruch atah Adonai, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all, who distinguishes between the holy and ordinary, between light and dark, between Israel and the nations, between the seventh day and the 6 days of work. Praise to you, Adonai, who distinguishes the holy and ordinary.
Hold over there so we can put the camera on. Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Yai lai la 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 la, yai lai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la la.
Please join us in Eliyahu Hanavi.
Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi. Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimhera v'yameinu, Yahavo Eleinu, Im Mashiach ben David, Im Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. Shavuot tov, 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 Shavuot tov. A good week. A week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase.
May Elijah the prophet, who brings tidings of a better day, come soon in our day, showing us the path to a place of goodness and wholeness, of holiness and peace. And may the leaders of tomorrow be the ones who bring us to that day. We ask God's blessing upon you, on all you love, and all we share. Bruchim atem b'voachem, uvruchim atem b'tzeitechem, me'ata v'ad olam, hallelujah. Blessed are you who have come here this day. Blessed be you as you go upon your way. From this time forth and forevermore, may you bless God's holy name.
Shavuot tov and Mazel tov.